Andrew and his colleagues at City and State asked if I would say just a couple of brief remarks, as he said, to sort of frame the discussion. It's a sort of challenging thing to do because obviously economic development is a very big topic. But I can say a couple of things just from the standpoint of Empire State Development, the Department of Economic Development, which is the organization I run on behalf of Governor Andrew Cuomo. And what I want to do is just sort of do that framing by mentioning 2 or 3 principles that guide our work, and then the panelists will no doubt explore or kick around in their discussions. Now, you know, the first, I say this with the glaring afternoon sun coming right down in EJ's eyes, in the front row here. But I think the first observation is that what's most helpful for economic development in New York State are those policies that really affect the macroeconomic conditions and the broader business conditions of the state. And certainly we've seen the governor's commitment to making reforms that improve the overall business climate for all of the state's employers. So think about New York as a $1.2 trillion economy spread across 62 counties with over 500,000 actual employers. And so it's so very important. I come back to this all the time, and yes, EJ and Heather and others know, Marcia knows, much of this comes from what I learned when I was at the Business Council, but it's so very important that the fiscal discipline that the governor and leader and Senator Skelos is here, his colleagues in the Senate, colleagues in the Assembly, the legislature working together with the governor. It can't be underestimated how important the fiscal discipline, the getting runaway state spending under control, the property tax cap, the most recent reforms providing, for example, an elimination on the 9A corporate business tax to upstate manufacturers, the property tax credit for upstate manufacturers, the reduction of the 18A assessments. These, you know, inside this room, I think people get it. Certainly, my sense is that, and I'm with employers, I'm with CEOs and investors all the time, they're getting that message that those reforms to the state's business climate are starting to change the state's reputation, and we all know what that reputation has been over the years.
And what can people do, elected officials, on a local level? We've talked about some state level initiatives, but what can you do?
Great, thank you, John, and I'm also honored to be here as well. Ken said it best when you talk about New York State. This is a home rule state, so unless you have the support of your local community, you're not going to get anything done. That's the bottom line, in my opinion. I was a former town supervisor before here. The reason why I'm here as a county executive is we were one of the top business locations in the Hudson Valley, and I think that's why it was on the mind of the voters. So at the end of the day, what we're seeing in Orange County now is we made a series of recommendations to our IDA, our Industrial Development Agency, our partnership, which we all work together as one team. One of those things is shovel-ready sites. And what we've seen in the last 3 to 4 months is major companies coming here. Orange County is a destination to begin with. We're in a good location, but we're also known for being pro-business. So what we've seen is major companies like Amy's Foods, which is a West Coast operation, moving a major catalyst, and I see Ken nodding his head. We were partners with the governor and Empire State Development on making that happen. 650 jobs. They're moving full speed ahead. A very unique company of the future. They basically have a doctor and a nurse working for them to take care of their staff, which is, I think, very forward-thinking.
Syracuse is one of these prototypical large cities, used to be a manufacturing hub, used to have a lot of innovation going on. It's seen population declines. What's the most important thing going on now in your city to spur economic development?
Well, what we have been able to do is form strategic partnerships to talk about where our assets are and how we build on those assets. And as Ken said, the regional councils have been helpful to us because it forced people to come together and really think about where our future is and not just talk and pine after the past. And so we've been able to build off of those assets. But part of what local governments, particularly cities, struggle with is that we have the largest responsibility for maintaining our infrastructure. And so when you talk to businesses about coming into cities or expanding, which we've been very fortunate in the city of Syracuse to have a burgeoning downtown and really forming partnerships with our county so that perhaps businesses that want a plant or facility type of operation aren't going to locate in the city because we're landlocked. We have a partnership with the county where they can go out to their sites. But part of what they're looking at very deliberately is the quality of the roads. How much do you pay for water? Is your water accessible? What about sewer rates? All of those very prosaic things that mayors have to deliver, that when you talk about cutting taxes, and it is a tremendous sort of sweetheart cotton candy of trying to attract businesses here, and I recognize that, having to negotiate pilots myself. But part of what we all have a responsibility, I think, is to realize that local governments, all governments, have to provide a certain core level of services. And if local governments don't have money, then they can't take care of the roads, they can't take care of the water systems, they can't take care of the sewer systems. And when 70% of the gross domestic product in the United States is being made in statistical metropolitan areas of between 500,000 and 5 million, which includes all of the thruway cities in it. If those cities are not able to provide those kind of services, then it doesn't matter how many incentives you give to people, but they're going to say, if I can't count on my water coming, or if when there's a fire in my building and there's not a fire person, a firefighter coming, or a policeman when somebody breaks into my car, I think it's all money that's not properly spent for in the long term.